What does RV life teach you about yourself that wherever you go, there you are? In other words, you have to put yourself into the equation in order to have successful and enjoyable RV travel. And if you're traveling with a family or a partner, you have to put each human into the equation as well.
But what if you don't really know yourself that well? Let me tell you, even if you think you know yourself before you start RV travel, especially long travel, you really don't know yourself, but you're gonna find out.
In this episode, we're going to give you the tools you need to discover your own RVing personality and put you on the path to having more of the moments that you're going to find out that you really enjoy.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Linda.
And this is Roaming with Rosie. And maybe you really don't want to know who you are.
But then I have to go back to where my head was.
There's so much more room for activities.
What's that from?
Step Brothers.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know how you're going to go way out in nature. All you do is cuss at bugs.
That's because they're little bastards. Plus, I've learned that I really enjoy helping people. I didn't really find myself as somebody that liked to do that.
Are you just joking?
No.
I don't have anything to say to that. He just wants to lay down and have me film him. There's two things.
When you buy your first RV, you thought you bought a life of exploration, but what you really bought was a plan to find out who you really are, and maybe you really don't want to know who you are.
You usually start with destination goals, but if you do this long enough, you're going to end up recognizing your lifestyle goals. They're a much bigger part of it. It doesn't matter where you go, it's really more important how you feel once you're there.
This is why it's so important to be honest about your RV trips. This will help you sort out which type of RV traveler you really are, and maybe even avoid a divorce.
Of course, there's always that super flexible, easygoing person that discovers that they're happy everywhere they go. But I wouldn't worry too much about them because how many of those people do you actually know?
So you have to start somewhere to figure out what kind of RV you want to buy, and you really won't know until you've actually gone out and used it. So there's really no way to figure out exactly which one's going to be the right one. There's really no magic to it. So you really can't know right off the bat.
When we first started looking at RVs, we found a Grand Design fifth wheel that was used but unused. In other words, the former owners never got a chance to use it. And it was such a good deal, but we didn't own a truck that could tow it. And we didn't have the funds to buy both it and a truck. But again, it was such a good deal. The salesman almost had us convinced that we could have it towed up to a campground in the mountains. And whenever we wanted to use it, we just call that campground and they would pull it out and set it up. We almost bit on that deal.
Now, some people may ask, what about renting one? Maybe if you can rent one that was owned by a private party that had all the stuff that you would actually use when you went out and went camping. But we had a horrible experience when we rented a Cruise America when our Alpha was totaled. It was just a horrible experience, and I'm not going to tell you that's the way to figure out if you're what type of rig you need to get.
So you're going to need to learn how much uncertainty that you enjoy, whether you prefer moving often or staying put, how much social interaction that you want in your RV life, and what level of comfort matters most to you. But most importantly, you have to figure out what it truly is that makes you happy.
The RV becomes more a tool for self-discovery more than just transportation. Here's two things that we learned about ourselves after 7 years of RV travel that are the opposite of what we thought they would be.
I thought my favorite places were all going to have something to do with nature, like national parks, famous hiking trails, going to beaches. I always would love to go to beaches. But when I look back on these 7 years of RV travel, the things that stood out as bringing me the most joy were actually attractions, like going to Trees of Mystery in California. That was one of my favorite things. Taking train rides, taking the RV and going to an NFL game. Like, that surprises me that after 7 years, those are the things that stand out in my mind. Because again, I would have thought it always had to do with nature. And I wouldn't have found this out without just doing it.
And I thought it was going to be all about the natural wonders. And those are amazing and really important to me. But the most important thing to me and what I really enjoy is getting to a destination, getting camp set up, sitting back and just enjoying the destination and getting that accomplished. And then the other thing that I don't really do is I don't really sit outside. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm probably missing something that I really enjoy.
So you can't really know what type of a RVer you are until you've actually started it. So we're going to help you to try to find out from the beginning, but really it's the experience that's going to bring you in, and paying attention is going to bring you in and around what type of RV style is really suited best for you. So these were super important findings for us, and they help us so that now we can plan more of those moments into our RV trips.
Hopefully, as we share the things we now know that we enjoy, we're presenting questions for you to ask yourself so that maybe you can figure out what kind of RV lifestyle you want to have. And for all you know, the answers may surprise you.
So starting down this path of, I think I want to have an RV life, was kind of YouTube's fault, and a little bit Jamie's fault too. We mentioned before that he grew up traveling cross country with his family, and so he thought that he was cut out for this kind of spontaneous RV life, that it was a perfect match. And he loved big trucks, he had his Class A license, so naturally he leaned into having a big diesel pusher as the right fit. For reasons that we've explained in other episodes, he came to the conclusion that older diesel pushers were built better, and he wanted something that was big enough that we could call it our home, travel the country, and basically it was huge, he could take everything with him. Plus he could fix things. So it all seems like that would make a really good fit for us, right? Maybe.
So that's what we started with, and that's pretty much what you have to do. You have to start somewhere. But what I think you want to do is you kind of want to play devil's advocate. You want to think about the negatives or the cons, and we weren't really thinking about that back then.
And keep in mind, just because you discover that something makes one person happy, it might be something the other person hates.
So how much space do you really need? It isn't really about the size of the RV. It's about your possessions, your personal space, and a lot of people realize that they don't really miss what they've left behind.
And others realize that there's a few things that they really value and are willing to make room for. You can probably guess now that RVing forces a lot of those decisions. Let's hear now what Jamie really thought of owning and driving a huge 40-foot diesel pusher.
At first, I really loved it, but over time there was stress of worrying about things I hadn't really thought about, like the height of the RV, the weight of the RV, and how long it was. And I didn't really experience that while driving big trucks. Just going out and exploring in small towns meant narrow roads, power lines, and just finding a place to park really had to be planned out. And the other thing that was kind of a bummer was we really couldn't get into places that I envisioned going to. Now that I know that our current coach is only about 4 feet smaller, but there is a lot of stress that's been taken away because, one, it's 4 feet smaller, so that's a little bit easier, and also the height. It's literally a foot shorter than what the Alpha was. Also, I know that if I have a big RV, I'm just going to stay inside, and if we went smaller, that would probably force me to go outside more. Right now, all I'm doing is I'm just kind of taking my house along with me on the trip.
But I like taking my house with me wherever we go, and unlike Jamie, you'll usually find me outside if the weather's nice enough, whether that's at our home base or whether if that's on the road. And if the weather's bad, I might be inside, but I'm usually going to be near a window because I still like looking outside. So for me, I like having a big RV. I like being able to take all of my creature comforts with me, and I'll be able to spend quality time outdoors no matter what. I like having a big fridge full of fresh ingredients and the space to prep and cook all the food. And I like being able to take clothes for every situation with me, and having the space to keep them works just fine for me. From the beginning, I realized that we wouldn't be camping way out in nature because of having this big rig. But it's still more in nature than you would be if you were in most hotel rooms. And besides, I kind of figured out that I don't like being way out in nature with all that natural critters or even just criminals. I don't really want anything to do with that. So being in a public campground with natural surroundings seems to work best for me.
But there's one thing about having a big RV that Linda doesn't really enjoy, and that's how we have to plan for campsites.
Yep. Which brings us to the topic of uncertainty. You could also put a sense of adventure in this same category. How do you handle that? Knowing which type of RV traveler you are, is really helpful for your happiness.
Many people start out RVing thinking I'm an adventurer, only to realize later that maybe they're just the type of person who needs a familiar base and just go out on an occasional excursion. Or maybe you're just the exact opposite.
And some people love never knowing where they're going to be next week. Other people need to have reservations months in advance for them to sleep well at night. Neither is right. It's simply just discovering which type of person that you are.
So how much certainty do you really need? Are you the person who can handle something that's completely out of control no matter where you are? Weather changes, mechanical failures happen, and also plans just completely fall apart.
And some people discover that they're more adaptable than they ever thought they were. And some people are frustrated all the time. Those are just interesting things that you need to know about yourself.
Our first long travel was during COVID. We were having problems with our solar system that I recently installed on our first RV. We purchased all the equipment from a company up in Price, Utah, so I called them and see if we could come up there and actually have them check everything out. So there was a approximate date that we had to get there, so once that was all completed, we were able to just roam around, and roam we did.
I always thought of myself as a planner prior to that trip, but I discovered a total love for not having to make reservations or make plans beyond a few days. It meant that sometimes we might have to stay at a travel center or a rest stop, but I was fine with that. The whole idea of having to make commitments so far ahead really was something I didn't like, and not doing that really seems to fit me well.
Yeah, committing to campgrounds for months, even weeks in advance, are really stressful for Linda. And having to fit all those campground reservations together, basically like a jigsaw puzzle. Not only that, but there's also the what ifs. And especially when you can't really get refunds anymore,
Right.
because of the way campgrounds are doing that now. So this adds a lot of stress for Linda. Lately, I've been watching YouTube channels where they have a smaller setup, which gives them a lot more flexibility. I never really connected the size of the RV with being able to get into certain places and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing that kind of causes a lot of stress is the competition now to actually be able to get a campsite and having to do it so far in advance.
Yeah, uncertainty is not the problem for me. It's actually the certainty that makes me feel trapped. I like freedom. I like the ability to say, okay, I want to hang out here longer. I really like it. But I also like the ability to go, okay, I'm done. Let's go.
We know that neither of us is really interested in staying at a busy RV resort. We're not really interested in planting ourselves at the RV resort and getting busy with the daily activities of the resort. We've stayed at a few in the busy season, and it's not really something that is really appealing to us. And that's not really the reason we wanted to start RV travel in the first place.
And that's not to say we're not interested in making friends and socializing. The whole reason we love going to Quartzsite is because of all the friends we make, and it's because of the socializing. And our favorite thing is to meet up with those same friends as we travel about the country. But the main thing is we're not really interested in organized daily activities.
There's so much more room for activities.
What's that from?
Step Brothers.
Oh.
Why are you guys so sweaty?
All right, we've already figured out how to do this. The beds match up perfectly.
And here's the thing, it'll give us so much extra space in our room to do activity.
You like guacamole? Ah!
Jamie's a creative person. He's always creating and making things his whole life. Even when he was a kid, he learned how to sew because he liked making costumes so much. But having an idea and bringing something to life from scratch really seems to just be his thing. Although you wouldn't always know that by watching him creating something. Sometimes you want to run and hide for cover. But knowing which projects that he likes to get into and which ones he knows that he won't like to get into is something only that he can decide. And that's going to that has to apply to which RV that we pick. I mean, I obviously have input, but he's ultimately the one that's going to keep it going. Deciding which roadside assistance plans kind of has to be up to him. Plus he has the insurance thing, owning an insurance agency. And knowing which things that he's going to either buy or create himself or pay to have done, those are all the kinds of things that he has to know about himself going into this. Maybe you could give us some examples of that.
Well, a prime example of that was when we actually purchased the Alpha. I loved everything about the Alpha, but the one thing that I never liked about it was the decals that were on the Alpha. I hated them. So the first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to get rid of the decals. So I got rid of those, but then there's the ghosting because the decals have been on there for so long that the rest of the coach kind of fades a little bit differently. So you have the marks where the decals used to be. So I wanted to paint the RV, and for 2 years I basically watched how they painted yachts and all that kind of stuff and figured out a method to be able to paint the RV because it meant that much to me to be able to do that. So I tackled that, and it was very satisfying to be able to do that. But another thing in contrast to that was I had no interest whatsoever in changing the oil in the diesel pusher or changing the transmission fluid in the diesel pusher. So I was willing to have a professional do that. And the reason why I didn't want to do it is because my thing is, okay, now where the heck do I get rid of all of this oil? I don't want to have to deal with that. So I just had no interest in that at all. But there's also,
Sometimes you're not successful at something, but you still like doing it.
yeah, I mean, an example of that was we were traveling up in Oregon and Washington State, and our water pump went out on the Alpha. So I had to find a place where I could get the water pump. Got the water pump, changed it out, and then we went on our merry old way and had water. We had the same situation happen in this coach where we had to water pump one out. We were on our way to quartzite. We had to stop somewhere, try and find a water pump. I wasn't able to find the exact water pump. And then when we got to quartzite, I changed it out, knowing that I also had to come back home and get the correct water pump because we didn't have anywhere near the correct water pressure that was normally when we were using the water when we weren't plugged in or hooked up to water at a campsite.
But you weren't frustrated with any of that, even though you had to change it 3 times.
No, I wasn't frustrated with it, because I knew that I can do it, and it was, I was.
You just enjoyed doing it?
I enjoyed doing it. I mean, the thing that made me feel good is I knew that even though I had to change it out twice, it didn't matter to me because I was capable of doing it. So that's the thing that makes me feel good about that.
Let's talk about routines. Maybe we all go into this thinking there's not going to be any more set schedule, no alarm clocks, no long commutes, just freedom. And you can have that kind of life with camping, especially if you just go out into the woods, park yourself, and you're happy just to be there. Then it works just fine.
But unlike the boring routines that were applied to your daily life outside of RV life, those were just things that you had to do. When creating routines for your RV life of pleasure, maybe those won't feel the same.
But maybe you're a person who thrived on that. Working from home on your own schedule might have left you completely at loose ends. You might be one who functions much better on a routine and can be much more creative without all of the distractions. These are things just to know about yourself ahead of time if possible.
On the other hand, is RV life really free from all that routine if that's what you were hoping for? You may have a dog and still have to take him out because he still likes his routine, and maybe while you're on that walk, you can find that it's soothing and maybe comfortable for you as well.
If you're staying in a campground, you're still going to deal with check-in and check-out times. If you're going to go to a popular site or attraction, you still got to figure out when's the best time to go. And for your meals, even if you plan your meals or plan even the time of your meals, you may find that that's a predictability, a routine that you actually enjoy.
Or maybe bedtime is sacred to you.
What bedtime? You don't actually ever go to bed, do you?
No, not really. Well, yeah, I do. I just stay up so I can watch the things that I want to watch that you won't watch.
But then I get to get up in the morning and have quiet time and my coffee without you there.
Yes, you do.
That's a routine I like.
Yep. So being able to have a cup of coffee in the morning prior to your partner waking up, maybe just the amount of personal time and space you may need.
So what we're saying is you may have thought that you hated routine, but actually you like this little bit of structure. And maybe thinking of routine maybe as your groove, maybe that helps you to accept the fact that you really do like routines.
So there's a lot of freedom in routines outside of work life. You choose versus work and obligations demanding it. So you may find that it isn't necessarily that you hate structure and routines, it's that you just don't control it. What creature comforts do you need to make yourself happy when you're out on the road, and what are you willing to live without?
I'm beyond the point where I'm going to go out to travel and not have internet, air conditioning, heat, or even the food that I like to eat. I'm not interested in waking up on a crappy mattress, drinking terrible coffee. I it's really important to me to have the clothes that I want to wear and that they're clean and comfortable.
I'm starting to look at getting out into nature a lot more with our camping, and I'm talking about way out. Even if that requires us going smaller as far as an RV, because it's now or never. But there's still some things I'm not willing to give up on. That's TV, air conditioning, internet, food that I like to eat, but I still do not like bugs.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to go way out in nature. All you do is cuss at bugs.
That's because they're little bastards. Plus, I've learned that I really like helping people. I really didn't think of myself as someone who did. One example is we were in Magnolia Beach. We were camping right on the beach right there. And a younger family camped right next to us. They were in a travel trailer. And I was sitting there having my lunch, and I noticed that when I looked at the back of the RV, where the roof met the back of the RV, was actually loose. So I went out and talked to him and told him, hey, you really need to fix that before you head home, because it could really cause a problem and might even tear the rest of your roof off. So what I did is I always carry a Turtle Bond with me. So I went over and told him, hey, let's put this on the back. So I showed him and helped him apply that on the back of his RV. And that made me feel good, knowing that it was going to cost them a lot more money because there was going to be a lot more roof damage. Another example is when we were up in Albuquerque and we had the hailstorm where it did a bunch of damage to our RV. I noticed that there was an elderly gentleman who was in a fifth wheel that was camped next to us. And when I was on our roof, I noticed that his skylight in his shower was all busted up. So I went over and told him about it, and because of his physical condition, he couldn't really get up there and fix it. So what I did is I actually took a Turtle Bond, went up there, passed that all up for him and fixed it so that if it did rain again, he wasn't going to get any water damage. So I found that I really like this aspect of RV life.
When you go to bed at night, do you feel that you accomplished a lot that day, or do you stop and think about, was there something that you gained from the day besides just what you did? And I really recommend, if you can take the time at the end of the day or even the next morning, taking note of things like that, because you'll find that your life is like really going a lot better than you thought it was, or it gives you the opportunity to make a correction.
I just want to lay down.
And now you're done?
Yeah.
I would say that all these things make your RV feel like home. And I do very much like having a home. Yes, home is the structure that houses your actual physical house, but home is actually made up of all these things that we feel.
Has RV life changed us? It's been 7 years, and during that time, we've gone through COVID, retirement, 3 different RVs, not by choice, selling a home, creating a new home in a different state where we didn't know anybody, and also some serious health issues.
So at the beginning of this episode, we said that RV life and travel will reveal who you really are. But also, we're now saying, has RV life changed us? And I think that both could be true.
Once you're aware of who you are and what brings you satisfaction, you adjust your RV lifestyle choices to better fit you and accommodate you.
However, slowly those choices start to change you as well. Once you learn that you like staying longer, you start to plan trips where you stay longer. But that also means you got to realize that you actually probably like a slower pace, and so that helps you to plan your RV life at a much slower pace. Ultimately, it's going to come down to your values, and that's really very personal. Even if you like the same things as another person, you may not value them the same. So I think knowing the value of things gives things a little bit more clarity.
For example, both of you may really enjoy visiting national parks, and one of you may really think that going and seeing as many parks as possible is what really makes them satisfied and happy, where the other person may say, hey, I really enjoy spending more time in one particular place, and they prefer spending, say, maybe a week or whatever in that park.
Or when you go to choose campsites, you might both really love a waterfront campsite, but one of you has a value of it that you're happy to pay that premium price to get it, The other person, their value of financial freedom ranks higher for them. So they're perfectly happy to stay at a site nearby the waterfront site if it saves a little money. It's just that they prioritize things differently than you do.
So your values aren't really revealed by what you enjoy. It's the choices you make and prioritizing them when two important values compete.
Hopefully, this helps you to begin paying attention to what really gives you purpose and fulfillment in your RV life and will help you to have a more successful RV lifestyle going forward.
We really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends and family on social media. And if you're not yet a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
And ring that little bell, because that way you'll be notified each time we upload new content.
And make sure to leave a comment, that way you could be part of the conversation.
Until next time,
We'll see ya.
That's a wrap, roamers. If these adventures and tips are keeping you inspired, subscribe and watch another one. Your next RV tip or destination is just a click away.